right, folks, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome.
What does it mean when I have multiple responses?
This means that other people have responded as well.
Oh.
You should be able to see theirs too, I would think.
That's
You
cool.
can if you click it. So what you're answering right now is a question. This is Google Classroom's version of a discussion board. So not maybe quite as fancy looking or as robust, but it gets the job done. So students can post the answer to a question. You can then ask students to reply to each other, and they can start having some dialogue back and forth about that question and response. As a teacher, of course, you can see in real time, you can see how many people have turned in their question answer. There we go. And so I can see, of course, everything that everybody responded. I can see who has replies to them. I can, of course, go in and make sure that everybody responded to two and all of that kind of stuff to give them a grade for that question response. Questions can be set up, as you see here, with short answer or multiple choice. Whenever you set it up, short answer, you can, or multiple choice really, you can decide whether or not you want students to be able to reply to each other or not. So if you want it to be just kind of a quick check for understanding and no conversation, you can turn that off so that they're not commenting back and forth, or you can leave it on to actually promote discussion. Questions about responding to a question? Okay, yes.
If I set it up so they can't respond to each other, I then like open it up for responding to each other once it's already been established. Like, could I change that at some point? Because I have some classes I wouldn't want them to have that option right away.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, the next step, maybe you do that?
Let me try. We'll see. Jen, what was your question?
My question was, much like our emails, does it kind of flag for bad words?
It does. I don't believe it does to a great extent. So it might, but so let's see. Here it is. Can I edit? So it looks like, Megan, the toggle button is still there.
Okay.
And when I go in and edit it, so you could turn it off and then open it back up later for discussion. Chris, did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
I said a couple of kids lost their privilege. Were they doing this?
No, they were not doing this. They were doing other various
I had
things.
multiple times use of privilege.
There were 3 children this week that I had to investigate, yes.
That's using VPN.
No. The VPN, yes, a lot of students have lost their ability to connect their phone to our Wi-Fi because they've been using the VPN. Several students got their accounts locked because they were having a chat room on a Google Doc with inappropriate comments and pictures. So,
Or made a Google Doc with that?
yeah, they were just.
Too much up.
Yeah.
A plus for the tech, but
Yeah.
that's not
Very visual aid.
Not yet.
Not A. Well,
It's definitely inappropriate use of it.
Inappropriate.
But they've all been taken care of that stuff. We digress. Any other questions about questions or answering questions?
How do you know how many replies I made?
So unfortunately, I would have to go in and look through each response and do a tally of,
I wondered if it was easy.
not of which I'm aware. Other questions? All right, so the other one that I want you to try is the Google Classroom 007. So if you find Google Classroom 007, this one is an assignment. We're going to try both of these things as students first, and then we'll go in and talk about how to build them. So once you open up this one, you should see on the top right, there's actually a document with your name on it. Click on that and go into the document. And I think please talk to your teacher.
I'll talk to you.
Yes. You can put, the students can leave you private comments if they have a question about the assignment or sorry I'm late.
So how do you get this to grade each of us at that point?
We'll talk about that. We'll collaborate.
Because I knew how to do it, I didn't know how to do it.
Now, the reason that I chose this particular assignment is because you may see on your walkthroughs coming that you have some notes about what level of SAMR you're on if you're using technology. And so I just want to give you a little refresher on that. We talked about that last year. But just take a few moments to type somewhere in the document. It doesn't really have to answer the question. And then once you've typed a little bit, go ahead and turn it back in so you can see what that process looks like.
I'm typing literally on the SAMR map.
Yes. Type in that table or in the directions, whatever.
Where are you?
It says redefinition, tech allows creation of new tasks previously.
I know I was doing walkthroughs, but inconceivable. I just wouldn't, that gets taken away from me.
Okay, just take a few moments, type somewhere in the document, take a guess at one of the answers, doesn't really matter, and then back to the Google Classroom and turn it. No, you don't have to do the whole thing. Honestly, I'm not even gonna check it.
Oh, it's not for a grade? I'm done.
I would never tell that to students. We're testing process, not.
She everything. She's everything.
She's an A+ student. I don't know what I'm doing. So I do it all ahead of it.
Turn it, right?
Yep, turn in.
So is the level the title substitution?
Correct. Oh, I saw something.
I'm very analyzed.
And so when they reply, it comes to our email, or is that just me?
Yeah, whenever you get a reply.
I said I was great. That's
Huh? Yeah,
That's right, that would be.
Alright, so we're still waiting for a few more to turn in.
Substitution just use one to do, it's hard to do the rest.
Yeah. Do you know the answers to this?
Google Classroom.
I do.
I would like to see what they.
So the first four go in order. Substitution, annotation, modification, redefinition, and then I think the last three, I think they also went in order. Augmentation.
Oh, they were in order.
I want to find.
I was
Trying. Clever.
So it goes.
I was sent.
Oh, I get only one before I didn't. James, you gotta get a first period. Yeah, I get first period.
Oh, no, the you pick up.
Let's just go.
Alright, so let's take a look at what we have turned in. What it looks like as a teacher, how the grading would look. So again, I can see in real time how many we have turned in here. And so if I want to grade these, of course, I can click on one of the papers. I can look down through, see how they did, okay. If I want, I can type directly on the document. the document, what grade they got, that kind of thing, I can do that. I can also leave comments using a comment bank. So right over here, you have this little speech bubble thing. You can add comments to this bank of things that you constantly say. You know, complete sentences, round to nearest hundred, whatever sort of applies to your area. So you can add them there, and then you can just click on them, and they'll add them to the document. So you don't have to constantly type them. They're already there for you. Of course, once you're done looking at it, you can put in a grade.
Not only you seen those students here.
Correct. I can also leave a private comment to the student, just maybe an overall comment. It will come up whenever they get their document back when it's returned.
I didn't know if it's sent to them like an email type of thing.
When student emails are turned on, they will get an email like when something has been graded and returned to them. If they have Google Classroom on their phone, they're getting notifications.
So like if I put, please submit your paper, it's now officially late.
Yeah.
They won't get it unless they go to the paper and actually open the paper up.
If you put it here. Now, at this point, since you've graded this paper, you have two options. Right? You could individually return this paper and then go to the next paper. Or, which would probably be my preference, I will grade all of them at once, and then I'll just return them all at the end. Okay? You do have the option up here in the middle of the top to toggle between papers. So I can hit this right arrow and go to the next paper and be able to grade it. So here's Brittany's paper, good, see how she did.
Allison, is there something you have to click on to make it show that it's graded to the student?
Yes, that's when you return it. That way we'll do that. Now, keep in mind is that this is clicking through in alphabetical order. Of course, in my classroom, I have 100 plus children. Not all of them have come to PDT, so I have a lot that are ungraded. But you'll go through your 30 or so kids, and obviously if they didn't turn it in, then you can give them a 0 or whatever is appropriate for the work that they have completed. Now, back here in the Google Classroom, you can see, of course, I can go through all of those papers. Or let's just say this was something where, you needed to turn it in to get the grade. I could just also go through here and grade them on this little side screen. Whatever is appropriate for the assignment. I'll go ahead and do that real quick for all of us. And then I can make sure that all of these folks are checked that have turned it in. And I can return it to all of them at once. I can send everybody a comment at once if you want. And then in a few moments, you should either see your grade or you might need to refresh your screen to see it on your end.
F.
So, is it automatically send the grades only if you have it set up to do that?
For Synergy, it will only do it if you have it set up to do that. Now, Jen brings up a good point, and that's grading as far as connection to Synergy and all of that. If you do not have your sync turned on where it's syncing your assignments and your grades, okay, you're under no obligation to type in the grades here. Okay? You can obviously just look through whatever they submitted, write the grade down, and go type it in your grade book and never put it here. Okay? The benefit to putting it here is that students will get some notifications as opposed to just having to go into Synergy and look to see what that grade was. But if you don't have that sync on, there isn't a huge benefit to you. If you do have the sync of your assignments and grades turned on, then yes, as soon as you type it here, go into Synergy, hit sync, it will sync them over there. You're done. So that is up to your preferences. Any other questions about being a student as far as an assignment or questions?
So, let's say you gave it a grade of an 80 or something, where would that show up? The 80s, 0. Because it says here my work rate. It says from you, thanks. But where would the little?
Towards the top, it should say
Oh,
25 out of
25
25.
out, I thought I see, it's spotted. I don't see it.
It's in the
Right
right.
next to your work to the left.
I'm on my email.
Well,
It's
that's.
right on
Look
your
down.
left.
Not having to screen.
Well, I mean, it shows up, I see the things in my email, but it
Right.
doesn't show me the grade.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go into the classroom to see.
But that's what I thought you said that.
What?
You click on the link.
No, not in email, in the. Classroom.
So I'm on Sailor, I'm viewing the assignment. Yeah, so this is.
Yeah, maybe it's, okay. Maybe it's.
All right, so at this point now, let's talk about how we build these things and actually become teachers in classes and how that looks. So, what you want to do is go over here to your pancakes. That's a waffle bean pancakes. And go to classes. Wait, pancakes? Yes, pancakes. And so what we want to do is pick a class or become a teacher in a class. So you can either pick one of the classes that you already have of students. Just make sure if you make something crazy, you don't post it to them so that they get something crazy. Or if you want, you can always come up here, create a new class for just like a practice class. If you want to play around with some stuff, see how things work and whatnot. So just hit the plus, create a practice class. You don't have to have any students in it. You can sort of practice. It's up to you which one you want to choose. You can also, of course, hit the cupcake before you go so that you can celebrate Google Classroom's fifth birthday. Yeah. 5 years old. It's getting so big.
Does it do that every day?
I'm assuming because it started October 1st, it'll probably be there for the end of the month.
I have not noticed that cookie.
See? Kathleen, Google Classroom.
You get one.
Huh?
You get one.
You can do it.
I know.
I think so. Like here. Click on one.
Celebrating over and over again.
Yes. Once you go into a class, you can also give yourself high five because Google Classroom is 5, so.
Is that why that was there? I saw it earlier.
I saw the picture, put it in.
I saw that when I posted it earlier. I'm like,
Not as much.
All right, so when you go into a classroom, you automatically start on the screen, which is, sort of Facebook feed looking thing that will post, whatever was most recently posted will be at the top. It'll go in chronological order. You can also post announcements to the stream, don't get your test tomorrow, bring your Christian slip, whatever it is. But that's pretty much the extent of the stream. Okay? The place where most of your time will be spent is over here in classwork. In your classwork, there's several things going on. First, over here on the left is where topics appear. Topics are basically tags that you can give to any sort of questions, posts, whatever that you put into the classroom. I usually suggest these be broken up by units or the piece of literature that we're studying or whatever way that you want to organize your materials for your students to be able to find them more quickly. Okay? These can be set up individually or you can set them up when you create assignments and things for that particular class. Your create button, which is up here at the top, we'll get to that in a minute. You also have links to the Google Calendar and the Class Drive folder. Class Drive folder, it's cool, but it's a little crazy in there because it'll make a folder for every assignment that you create. There's like a lot of stuff in there. So you can use that, yes, to post things for your kids, but it is a little crazy in there, not gonna lie. The Google Calendar, for any assignment that you create that has a due date on it, there will be a post to a Google Calendar, and so they can actually click on that. Go look at the Google Calendar, see what kind of things are due. You can add stuff to it, important dates, whatever, if you would want to do that. But we'll go ahead and hit the create button here. And so starting at the bottom, you can see topics. So if you want to set up topics ahead of time, you can do that. You need to edit topics, things like that. Reuse post is the next one. So if you are, for instance, in a semester class and you did this thing first semester and you want to do it again next semester, you can reuse a post from first semester so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Or if you put it in one class, if you forgot to create it multiple times, you can just reuse it and pull it over. Material. This is just a way to post documents, per se, to students. So if you have a vocabulary list or maybe an article that you want them to read, something like that, you can post it as a material. The benefit here is that you can also tag it so that it has the various categories attached to it. The next thing is questions. So go ahead and click on question. Look at how to build one of those. So it defaults to this class and all students within this class. You, of course, can type your question. If you have any instructions that you want to include to the students, you can put them there in the instructions box. Like sentences, if you're applying to people, whatever. Next up, you have how many ever points this particular assignment is worth. So you can alter that number, or you can just choose ungraded if you don't want it to be a graded assignment. Next up is the due date. So you can set a due date and a specific time if you want. So if you need it to be turned in by the end of this class period, you can set that specifically. The benefit here is that it will tag things that are late that are posted after that time. And then you can decide as the teacher, what you want to do with that lateness. It will not get rid of the assignment or not allow it to post. It will still be open for posting, but it will be clear to you as the student that this was posted late. And then finally, in this row, you have the option of topics. So again, you have all the ones that have been created before, or you can create a new topic right there, so you don't have to create them ahead of time. Down here, you can choose whether you're doing a short answer question or multiple choice question. In the middle here is where you decide whether or not they're going to be allowed to reply to each other. That defaults to on, so make sure if you don't want them to reply to each other, you turn it on. And then you have the option of editing. Okay, this defaults to off. Okay, so think about this for a second. On one hand, it might be good to allow my students to edit their answer. So if they're reading it and they say, "Oh man, I just spelled something wrong," or "Hey, I forgot to mention blah blah," they can go back in and change that. However, if I'm allowing my students to see each other's responses and respond to each other, there's nothing then preventing someone from going in, reading somebody else's response and going, "Oh man, I forgot to talk about blah blah," and going in and changing that based on what they read from someone else's. Okay, so just use that judiciously, however you think is best for your students.
Alice,
Yes.
if you click off, students cannot reply to each other. Do they still see everybody's, or are they just seeing?
As far as I know, it's just like an assignment then where it just comes to you.
Okay. Which means then you could probably edit.
Right, exactly. Down here at the bottom left, you can add any sort of media to the question. So let's say there was a short video that I wanted them to watch and then answer a question. So I could post the video here, the instructions, watch the video, they answer the question, and you have that happening all in one place. So you can do videos, you can do a link to a website, document, whatever it is. Finally, over here on the right, you have options. So the trash can obviously deletes it. So that if you don't want to post it, Ask would post it immediately to your classroom for students to respond to. And then you can click the little drop down beside there. You can also choose to schedule it. So if you want this question to come out 15 minutes before the end of the period, you can assign it to come out 15 minutes before the end of the period, and it will post at that specific time. Please note, even though you can go back in and edit questions, if you schedule it for a specific date and time, you can't edit that. Okay, so put it on your radar and schedule it, it can't be changed. If you find, okay, I did want this to come out in the first 10 minutes of class and we haven't gotten there yet, I need it to come out in the 20 minutes, you could always reuse the post, change the time, and delete the other one. So there's a workaround. Finally, if you're working on it and you need to come back to it because you're not done, you can choose to save this draft. That way it's not going to post immediately. Questions about the question? So you can see that my post is down here at the bottom, okay? It's sort of gray, so I know that it's not actually posted in the classroom yet, but it's in its appropriate topic. Things that don't have a topic just stay at the top. All right, so the other thing we want to look at creating are assignments. So you can go to the create button.
I have another question. Sorry.
Yeah.
How do they know? Like, are my kids just gonna see it? Is it gonna alert? How are they gonna know that I asked this question? Because I actually didn't ask.
So if they have the Google Classroom app on their phone, they will get a notification that the question has been asked.
Okay.
When student emails are up, I suspect they will get an email that something has been posted in their class. And then obviously if they just go into Google Classroom.
Did you?
Yeah.
When are they coming up with student email?
So the status of student emails, apparently we were not privy to the fact that not all of the approvals were given, or because people left the division, the people who previously approved, we didn't want to assume that the people now approved. So we had all of the approvals we needed, but apparently now there's still some kind of other steps we have to complete, and I have a meeting next Thursday to find out what those steps are and complete them, I guess. Maybe by second round. Yeah. So the last thing we'll look at are assignments. You'll notice that there are two options. There's the assignment and there's the quiz assignment. There is not a whole lot of difference between the two. However, when you start a quiz assignment, it will automatically generate a Google form for you, so that you can go in, edit that form, and make your actual quiz right there. The other thing that it does is that it can provide a locked down experience so that the students, while they're taking the quiz, can't go out onto Google and search for the answers to your quiz. That sounds great. The thing to understand, though, about that is that that only works if they're on a Chromebook. Right? So if you create a quiz assignment with the lockdown experience and you end up with PCs, computer lab, it's going to tell them you cannot take this quiz. Right? So it only works with Chromebooks. If you're going to give a quiz that way, make sure you have Chromebooks. Those are the two differences. But we will go up here to just the plain assignment. The window looks essentially the same. Okay, you have your title there, your points, your due date, all of that kind of stuff is still the same. One of the things that we sort of just glossed over with question, but we'll talk a little bit more now, is what you see up here in the for box, okay? It's always going to default to the class that you're in for all students, but you can change that. So if, for instance, I want to add this to all 3 sections of whatever that I teach, I can go here and click on all 3 of those sections, so that now all of those classes get scheduled to them at this point in time. Okay? The other thing that you can do is change which students are getting that assignment. So if you have vacant assignments that you want, just those kids were absent to complete, choose just those students to get it. If you have a situation in your class where IEP requirements require different things for different kids, so you have a student who gets less problems on their assignment, you have a student who needs a lower reading level for their assignment, you can select just those kids to receive that assignment, and then the rest of the kids can get the other assignment. So it builds in some differentiation options. This is also good for group work. So if you're going to set kids up in groups, you can, okay, you 4 are going to be together on this document, you 4 are going to be together on this document, and just set them up in the Google Classroom, and they'll only see that particular version of the assignment when they go in. Please note, you cannot select multiple classes and then expect to only select several kids. So if you have one of those IEP situations for 2 of your classes, you would do it for 1 class, select a couple kids, and then go into that second class and reuse the post. And then you can just select those couple kids for that next class. Questions about that? Now, the other thing that's different about assignment is the way that you can attach things to the assignment. So if I go down here to my attachment options, I'll choose Google Drive. And so let's say I want to attach this document. When I attach the document, you'll notice that there's a little thing here that says students can view file. Okay, that means that at this point, the only thing that students can do is open that file up and look at it, read it. But you do have options. There's a little drop-down menu here. And so when you click on that, the next option is students can edit the file. This means that all of the students will be able to go into this one document and start editing. Okay? This can be a little crazy, so just think about your kids, 30 of them on one Google Doc. Okay? All the kids typing, they type over each other, it gets a little crazy. However, I have seen this work really well using Google Slides. So let's say you have vocabulary words or famous people that you're trying to identify, or different elements of the periodic table. They're supposed to do research on them, whatever. You can then, of course, have each student have their own slide. They can put in their research, their definition, their picture, whatever it is that you're requiring. And then at the end, you have one document that everybody's contributed to with all of the definitions for those vocabulary words or whatever it is that you're doing. So it can be very helpful to be strategic in the way that you set it up. This is also good if you are doing a group situation where you have 4 kids working on the same problem. It would all 4 be editing that one document. The last option is make a copy for each student, and that's what I did for you all earlier for you to get your own copy with your name attached to it. So essentially now, whenever I hit assign on this, it's going to create all of the versions of this document for every single kid in my class with their name attached to it. Questions? The other thing that I would just point out here is that yes, you have this document that they can all write on. You can also attach other things. So let's say this was the document they needed to write on. I also needed to attach a presentation. And then I want this one just to be viewable. So you can have the permission set up for each individual document within that assignment. And then, of course, you have the same options over here. You can assign it, you can schedule it, or you can just save it out. Questions? All right, so the last thing that I want to talk just a moment about are some settings that you have available to you to change and modify in your classroom with regard to how students and other people interact with your classroom. So if you've ever been over here to your People tab, you notice that with your students, you have the option in the center to invite guardians, or maybe you already see an email address there, okay, where those particular kids' guardians have been invited. It's important to understand that parents cannot get into your Google Classroom, okay? If you've invited them, they're not going to be able to get in and see the assignments, see what's been posted in the stream, any of that stuff. You can only get in if they have their students' login information, okay? In which case, then they log in as their student and then they can see it. When you are inviting a guardian, you're inviting them to get a summary of what has happened in the classroom. And so what that looks like is found up here in the little here, where all of your settings are. So you have your class details, you can change the name of your class, description, whatever. Down here in the general section, at the very bottom, you can see is guardian summaries. And so if you turn this on, you have the option to turn it on or off. So even if you've invited people, you gotta make sure you turn this on, or it still won't do anything for them. You can then, they'll then be able to receive the summaries. It's my understanding as well, if somebody else has invited them, and you go in and turn your summaries on, then they will get summaries for your class as well, even though another teacher was the person who invited them. Their summaries essentially come via email. I believe it is just once per week, and you can see it starts off with, these are the things your kid is missing. Right? They did not turn these things in. Here are the things that are due coming up. And then here's a summary of the kind of things that were posted in their classroom for this week, so that the parent can get an idea of what's actually happening in the Google Classroom. The other thing that you have control over here, which can be very important, is the stream. Okay? It's going to default to students can post and comment, which means they can go to that first page on the stream and post things to the stream. You may not want that to happen. Okay? You may not even want them to comment on stuff. So you can adjust this. If you just want students to be able to comment on assignments, to ask questions or something like that, you can leave that on. Or if you just want to lock it down completely where you're the only person posting anything in the Google Classroom, you can do that. Of course, once you make any changes, make sure you hit save so they take. And those are the class settings. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, so as we finish up, the last thing that I need you to do, if you head back to the tech ticket, you should see somewhere either in your classwork or your screen posted GCR number 8, Google Classroom number 8, which is the feedback form for today. So if you complete that short feedback form, I would appreciate it.